Hello everybody and welcome to MonoLOGUES, a podcast where I take 30 minutes out of my day to talk about whatever's on my mind. Today we're talking about social media. Oh my god, the danger of social media, holy shit. This is actually something that I've wanted to talk about for a minute on the channel. I just didn't really have a good way of going about doing so. Up until this point, the only thing that I would do consistently, or not consistently, but I would, dedicate a significant amount of time to in regards to, my work on my YouTube channel would be decryption. That would be the only thing that I would do. And it would be kind of weird for me to dedicate an entire episode of that show specifically to talking about social media, just because it's not relevant to what the show's about to begin with. It's more of a thing that's, centered around breaking down the sort of thought processes behind all the creative shit we enjoy, like games or occasionally a show, or two here and there. Stuff like that. So I didn't really have an opportunity to just sit down and talk about social media for however long I wanted to. With MonoLOGUES, though, I love this show because now I legit can talk about whatever I want to because I've given myself a platform to do so. There's a lot I want to talk about in this episode, but I think the biggest thing that this discussion is going to focus on and center around is just this idea of self-accountability. The reason I bring this up is because I personally feel like our generation has kind of absolved itself from any sort of self-accountability. And I think the biggest reason for that is because a lot of people are now sort of diving into these social media apps and platforms as a way to escape reality. You know what I mean? I think something that I would love to make clear and apparent from the jump is that I honestly don't think that social media is one of those toxic things that everyone else makes it out to be. There are definitely some downsides to it, but for the most part, I really do appreciate the idea as a whole, and I'm grateful that I was born in a generation where I can really take advantage of these platforms for two major reasons. The first is it gives me a way to express myself independently, right? So if I didn't have social media before, it would be much harder for me to build a brand and sell myself like I'm doing on this YouTube channel, because I would have to go out in the real world. I would have to talk to people in real time, and I would have to do all this stuff that sort of I'm limited by because of the physicality of reality. You know what I mean? A lot of the times if you want to advertise, you need to have the money to do so and whatnot. On social media, you can do that shit for free. I do it for free. You know what I mean? I just put a video out there. I make sure it looks snazzy, and then, focus is on something that people would be semi-invested in, at the very least. And then I just, sell it to people. I'm like, hey, I made this video, go watch it, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And although I do enjoy making YouTube videos and having my own space to just do me and create things and whatnot, within the future, going on into the future is what I should say instead. I want to get to a point where I can just make whatever I want regardless of the platform. You know what I mean? What's really limited about YouTube is that right now, or I guess I should say what's limiting, because it's still happening to me, is that right now I'm the only person working on these videos. I'm working to try and bring other people on and whatnot, but, obviously that takes money and stuff like that. And if I don't know you personally, I'm not going to ask you to do some shit for me for free or whatever. You know what I mean? My friend Ben, he does the art for the thumbnails for monologue episodes and whatnot, but he enjoys drawing to begin with. Plus, I've known the dude for a minute, so I have no issue asking him for a favor like that. You know what I mean? That's my boy. Of course he's going to help me out. But if it's some person that I don't know, you know what I mean? I have no ties to you personally, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, can you edit this video for me for free? You know what I mean? That's what's really limiting about YouTube, is just that I'm limited in what I can create because I don't have the resources to do so. But then again, that's why it's so beautiful. You know what I mean? I have no resources aside from what I've, sort of gotten myself, right? When I spent a whole summer working to build my PC and, working in general to get these Adobe subscriptions and all the games and all the equipment that I need to make my content. Those are the only resources that I have available to me, but that's because I'm a one-man team. You know what I mean? I'm doing all this on my own. So I don't need any resources other than time, you know what I mean? And that's to disregard what I said before about going out there and buying equipment and whatnot. The money thing is a different thing just because that's usually more of an investment type of thing, where I put money into a really good mic or PC. That's not something that's recurring, you know what I mean? Like paying someone each time you need a video edited or some shit like that. So I don't consider that a resource for me right now, because whenever I want to invest into something new, I just save up for it a little bit and then I invest in it, right? But again, with an employee or some shit, because that's what it would basically be if I had an editor or some shit like that, I would have to be paying them consistently. And I really do want to put out more content for you guys, but it's like I'm at a point where I'm not getting enough out of this financially to have that be a thing that makes sense, you know what I mean? So I'm waiting a little bit. Hopefully I get to a point where I can start investing in things like that. But the point I'm trying to make here is just that social media provides us with all these wonderful opportunities to do things that we could not do before. And I'm going to be 100% real when I'm saying this social media thing plays a big part in how I want my career to develop. You know what I mean? I said this in the last episode of Monologues too, but the way I look at YouTube and the way I go about content creation is that, for one, this channel I treat like a television channel, like a network or something like that, so that I have variety in what I can make, but also you guys have variety in what you want to consume, the entertainment that's like, you're given a catalog and not just like one specific type of video, you know what I mean? And that makes it harder for me to grow because I'm doing whatever I want to do and I'm not specifically focusing on, like, say, a video game series or a movie series or a certain medium or anything like that. I do what's specific to me as a person. But what's even better about that, a sort of trade-off, if you will, although it's much harder for me to grow in the long term, right? What that leads to is it leads to people who are here because they enjoy me as a person and they enjoy what I put out there. And that's the goal. I'm selling myself to you guys. And I've come to realize that it's working slowly but surely, you know what I mean? Every time I go and I look up at my analytics after I upload a new video or read the comments or some shit like that, I definitely recognize the fact that while it is challenging to stay invested in a channel if they keep jumping from topic to topic, a lot of you guys don't care. And a lot of you guys are just here because you enjoy my personality, you enjoy listening to me talk about the things that I'm interested in, and you can appreciate the production value of my content, you know what I mean? How much effort I put into my work. And that's the goal. That's always going to be the goal, you know what I mean? Because I feel like for me that makes it so much easier for me to get to a point where eventually, again, and I said this in the last episode, I can just be like, all right guys, I'm sick of critiquing, I want to make my own thing. Here's what I'm going to do, here's how long it will be, here's what's going into the production, here's how much money I need. Help me out if you want to, but I want to start making things now, and the reason why I think that'd work is because at that point, I would have firmly cemented myself as someone who not only understands what he's doing and, has the ability to really break down just sort of this creative process in a way that's easily consumable for like, the masses and whatnot, but also, again, is just reflective of a definite understanding of, what he's doing, right? I get to that point, you guys would be confident enough in me as a creator to just go ahead and do me, I think that's the biggest hurdle that a lot of people fall into when they're trying to, do YouTube and they're like critics specifically, is that I think it's nice to be a critic, but for me personally, I don't want to stay a critic. I do want to get to a point where I'm creating on top of critiquing, and I would mainly be critiquing my own work and critiquing stuff off the side, like on like Twitter or something like that, Hey, I just saw Avengers Super Endgame and it fucking sucked, shit like that, right? The biggest thing that I want to hone in on is social media is actually really cool when you're a normal person, when you're a normal individual, you know what I mean? I think I should clarify a little bit just so it doesn't seem like I'm relentlessly bullying people on the internet or something like that, which is not what I'm trying to do. I guess what I should say is that if you are completely and totally content as a person, if your mental is all there and you're like really just fine and satisfied or whatever, you can be a normal, rational individual, social media should not be an issue for you, you know what I mean? You should be able and fully capable of, turning on your phone, looking at the app, and then just going about your day. It's the people who live in this shit. Those are the people who hate it. They're constantly, just exposing themselves to everyone else on the internet and whatever's going on the internet. And I think that's when it gets toxic. You know what I mean? It's always I feel like, with this, situation in particular, right? It's definitely a case of, too much of a good thing, I think for me, right, a little bit of an anecdote just to hammer this point in, right? a year ago, I was not happy with where I was as an individual, just like in general. You know what I mean? I was all around miserable. And I just kind of had a moment where I stopped and I just thought about it and I just asked myself, why don't you like who you are? Why is everything always a struggle? You know, why is A, B, and C the most challenging thing for you when it's super easy, almost like, thoughtless for everyone else? And that really caused me to recognize that my biggest issue was just me. I was at a point where I didn't like who I was. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I would act. I didn't like how I would dress. I didn't like anything about myself, So instead of me, sort of projecting or deflecting all of that, I decided to get my shit together, and I just I wrote out a game plan, basically, just things that I wanted to do and accomplish within the year that I was taking off from school and all that. Just a list of things that I wanted to accomplish, so that I could get to a point where I was at the very least content with who I was. I didn't feel the need to change for anyone, and I didn't feel the need to be, overly self-conscious or anxious around other people. I could just do me. And I think that was probably the best decision that I've made in my entire life. Just being able to look inside for who you really want to be, then figuring out how you can put that into practice. It does a lot to a person in good ways too. And I think the first thing that I recognized after I started, feeling the fruits of my labor, if you will, was that the social media thing just didn't affect me as much as it used to. You know what I mean? I used to hate Snapchat. I used to fucking despise that app. And it was just because, it was constantly like a thing that would be sort of on display, if that makes sense. Like the whole app functions around like transparency. You know what I mean? You can't, when someone's texting you, when someone sends a message, when someone screenshots, when someone does everything. That's the whole thing. That's, why it's based on the fucking ghost, is just transparency. And, I like that, as a concept, but funnily enough, in their effort to create an app that was sort of separate from all that behind the scenes toxicity, I feel like Snapchat created a new type of toxicity. Just because it's like if you're not all there, right? That app fucking gets to you. It gets in your head, because those little moments where you see blank is texting you, or, they're typing, or they sent you a message, they sent you a snap or some shit like that. Those are fun. Those are nice, right? But the downtime where the app just really lets you sort of sit and marinate in your own thoughts, that's when it gets kind of dangerous. You know what I mean? Because then you're sitting there and you're just like, oh, well, I'm not doing anything at all. And obviously they're not doing anything, or they're doing something that doesn't involve me because they're not texting me or something like that. You know what I mean? The point I'm trying to make is that it's like the perfect way for someone to get into their own head. And that was the biggest reason why I just ended up deleting my whole account, when I went on this 1-year journey. I think that was the app that affected me the most, just because that's how I would always think. If someone wasn't texting me, they were out there doing something fun with someone else, and it just kind of got to a point where I was constantly thinking about what other people were doing and not focusing on what I should be doing. Now, for example, right, I'm at a point where, I have a lot of people that I want to talk to constantly, but if they're doing something, if they're busy, if they're not, sending me a message or doing something like that, well, then I have a bunch of other stuff that I could use to, preoccupy myself in the meantime. Just last night, I was really bored. I had nothing to do. It's the COVID semester. Even though everyone's at school and whatnot, there's nothing for anyone to do besides classes and whatnot. So I'm stuck at home. I'm not even in school because I'm on the gap year, right? Remember? I'm home scrambling to find something to do. And I'm just like, well, fuck it, sketch. You have been saying that you've wanted to get into art and you've wanted to, start sketching more for a minute now, yet you never do it. Now it's I'm at a point where it's okay, well, if I have that downtime, if I have those moments where I'm not doing shit, instead of waiting for other people to come and get me to do stuff, I should just do my own thing. And it worked out wonderfully. I'm working on this Shantae piece that looks fucking awesome. It's easily one of the best sketches I've put out there, and it's just a rough sketch. You know what I mean? I'm going to finish it digitally because I was like, damn, this is too good for me to just be oh, this is a preliminary. Guys, check out this awesome draft I did. You know what I mean? Fuck that. I got to finish it. But that's the type of thing that I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a matter, I would say that it's like honestly like a thing of like, the issue isn't the tool itself, but how we choose to use it. You know, all these social media platforms, they have their own gimmick. Everyone gets, infatuated and consumed with that gimmick. And then it just leads to a whole bunch of stupid bullshit. And so like, now the result is that each social media platform has problems specific to that platform, and then the others like kind of dog on each other for it. And again, like, it's funny and stuff like that, but I think the biggest thing and the biggest like point I wanted to get across with this video is just like, the issue isn't social media itself. It's definitely something that is like you get out of it what you put into it. If you're only using it as a tool to keep up to date with the ins and outs of your friends' lives and stuff like that, you're not really using it as a thing to dictate your own life, but you just want to see what your buddy is doing, or you want to see what the girl you're interested in is doing, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? You can do that and be totally fine. When I'm doing some other things, like if I'm at the gym, for example, if I'm working on a video, if I'm sketching, if I'm reading, if I'm doing anything like that, my phone is off. I turn that shit off, like, period. Because again, it's just about how you use the tool. Discipline. I think we need to start working on our discipline as a generation, just because again, so many people want to blame the app for it, but it's just like, all of these problems could be solved if you just didn't expose yourself to them to begin with. Well, it wouldn't even be solved. It wouldn't be a problem at all, because you're not giving it the room to enter your life like that. You know what I mean? Again, that's what I meant when I said self-accountability is just out the window. People are so fixated on just blaming this, blaming that. It's never a them thing. Maybe I should stop doing this. Maybe I should, reevaluate and change how I'm looking at something. You know what I mean? Introspection really is the biggest part of growing as an individual. And I think that for me personally, if any of you guys are watching this, right, are the type of person to go out there and be like, social media is the worst, la la la, blah blah blah, or whatever like that, I get where you're coming from. I really do. And in a lot of ways, I would agree. There's some crazy shit going on social media. So I wouldn't say that it's this, it's completely good, wholesome thing or whatever, and there's no downsides to it. There are a bunch of downsides to it, 100%. But the biggest downside, that being that social media has ruined a generation and all that type of shit, I don't agree with that, just because I believe that, again, this is an issue that wouldn't exist to begin with if we all just got some discipline. If we all just started telling ourselves, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be dumping all of our time and energy and selves in general into a fucking online platform. I'm telling you. The real world is dope. Reality is cool as fuck. Planet Earth, that's the shit. It's dope. Go check it out, say hi to your friends, interact with your family. I know a lot of you dudes who spend all your time on social media do not interact with your family members. And then you go on social media wondering why you don't have a good relationship with your dad or some shit like that. Go talk to him. Go talk to your mom or something like that. Turn off the computer every once in a while. Read a book. As Rel says, go out there, touch some grass, some real shit, There's just so much more that life has to offer, and I think it's so dumb for us to sit here and try and debate something that really shouldn't be debated to begin with, you know what I mean? Because, again, it shouldn't be a problem to begin with, but that's it. That's all I have to say on social media. Again, I think it is a wonderful tool when used properly, but it has to be used properly. Be aware of how you're using it, and if you need to take a break, if you need to take a step back, if it's affecting you negatively, do what's best for yourself. Be accountable, be disciplined, and turn the shit off. Turn it off, and then go do something else. Anyways, that is all for today's video. Like the video if you liked the video, and dislike it if you didn't. Comment down below telling me if I'm wrong. Oh, Mono, you're wrong. You're so stupid. Social media sucks, and you suck too, idiot. The links to my social... That is so fucking funny. Holy shit. The links to my social media, wow, are in the description below. You can find my Twitter, my Discord, and my Instagram. Oh, if you want to talk to me on Discord, have a one-on-one with me, you can do that. Just click the link, and be sure to subscribe for some more episodes of Monologues. This is only episode 2, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's so fun to just sit down and talk to you guys about whatever the fuck I want to talk about for however the fuck I want to talk about it, or however long the fuck I want to talk about it. This sentence does not even make sense anymore. I'm going to stop. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.